Welcome to Funk You Up, the podcast that gives you the best of functional medicine, nutrition, and wellness in 8 minutes or less.
Welcome back to Funk You Up. This is Michelle Miller, clinical nutritionist, and I am so excited to have our first Funk You Up podcast guest. I have joining with us today Chef Allison Henriques, who is part of our Physio Logic family. She's been with us since 2018, and she is our chef. Our Physio Logic chef.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
So Chef Allison graduated from the Institute of Culinary Education, also known as ICE, with a health supportive focus. So tell me a little bit about what that entailed.
So it was a classic culinary program, mainly plant-based though. So we didn't deal with any red meat, pork, a lot of vegan cooking, which was super fascinating.
Yeah.
And we also had nutritional lectures that accompanied our classes. So we learned about the foods that we were cooking.
Amazing. So we get into a lot of conversations in the office about cooking and the ingredients we're using. And I think that oils and the types of oils that we're using is a confusing topic. So we wanted to sit down and have a discussion today that hopefully clarified some of this confusion out there.
Yeah, for sure. So from a chef perspective, oils are super critical. They add a lot of flavor. They carry flavor through a dish. They allow foods to be cooked at high temperatures to get that nice crispy browning on the outside. Yeah, they're critical, obviously, from a nutrition standpoint as well.
It's so great to hear you talk about it in that way, because I think I'm so far down the nutritional path of it all that I forget about this like beautiful, creative, artistic element of the cooking as well. And I think with oils, we think about the good oils and we think about the bad oils. And today we'll focus a little bit on both and kind of what makes them good and what makes them bad. What do we need to be on the lookout for? But I mean, I think from a nutritional standpoint, it can't be understated how important these good oils are for our health. I mean, the fact that our brain is made up of, primarily fat and water.
Right.
And I think it's a big reason that a lot of these high-fat diets, a lot of these like keto blend diets are really popular right now, because these good healthy fats have definitely been researched to have a lot of benefit on our body. So let's start out. What is some of the common confusing arguments or elements when dealing with oils?
So I think primarily it is really critical to talk about smoke point. So the smoke point is the temperature at which an oil is going to start to smoke, break down, oxidize, and deteriorate. It completely denatures the oil itself. And so not only are you going to get a rancid taste and smell, but you're also at risk of consuming free radicals and things like that.
And that's really what's going to have this oxidative stress on our body.
Right.
And like you said, we can tell, like the naked eye can see when this smoke point is hitting, because you'll see the oil starting to smoke.
Exactly.
So I think now that we understand that, let's take it into how do we determine which oils have a higher smoke point, and then we can figure out what temperatures are going to correlate with what, applications we're going to be using when cooking.
Right. So in general, you can't really put an exact temperature on an oil, like at which point it's going to smoke. It falls on a spectrum. But in general, the more refined the oil, the more processed it is, the higher the smoke point is going to be, because all of those organic compounds have now been removed from the oil, so it's able to withstand more heat.
I love that. Let's go into this first, because this was something else we were going to talk about is, all of these confusing labels that are on our oils. So we see things like virgin olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. We see things that say unrefined coconut oil, refined coconut oil, organic, non-GMO. Break some of this down for me.
Okay. So extra virgin olive oil, that is my gold. I use that for a lot of different applications in the kitchen. Extra virgin is a certification. So an oil cannot be extra virgin if it's not that first pressing, cold pressing of the fruits.
And that's really important, because that cold pressing process is really kind of like the gold standard, right? That's what you want, so that none of these nutrients are denatured or the oil is not ruined during this process also.
Right. You're completely maintaining the, integrity of the fruit.
So if it's just regular virgin olive oil. It's everything that's kind of left over after the first press.
Yeah, it could be part of that extra virgin, but it's oftentimes mixed with more processed oils.
Okay. So it's worth getting the extra virgin.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get a really nice fruity and peppery flavor from a really good quality olive oil, extra virgin olive oil.
I love that. So then what about the unrefined versus refined?
So I tend to stay away from refined altogether. Not only is a lot of heat applied to, whatever they're making the oil out of, but it can also be filtered through different clays or salts like hexane. So you're introducing a lot of really dangerous things into the body.
Yeah. We need that. We don't need that heating up and entering our family's food.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, when I'm cooking things at a high temperature, I go for avocado oil. Not only does it have a really high smoke point around like 480 to 500, but it doesn't impart a lot of flavor into your food. So it's not going to interfere with other flavors in your dish.
That's amazing. I love that. Before we go into the other types of oils, I do think it's important. You had mentioned this to me before we started recording, that so many of the fried foods are often using oil. Well, they have to use oils primarily that are refined, because those are the ones you were saying that can withstand this high temperature.
Exactly, yeah. And not only do they withstand a high temperature, they have very little flavor and very little color. So again, you're really going to taste the food that you're frying in these oils.
So I guess, which is such a great point to bring up, this idea of, it is good to understand that this refined oil is what's going to be used at these higher temperatures, but it's also good to understand that we're not talking about, like, there is no such thing as like a refined olive oil that can withstand the temperatures that you're frying at.
Right.
When we're frying, these oils we're talking like the soybean or the, canola or the vegetable oils. And I think the concern too is there's all of these studies coming out showing that those oils, even if they're not at high temperatures, are being linked to a lot of neurodegenerative issues, whether it be Alzheimer's, whether it be Parkinson's disease, or even things like anxiety and depression.
Right.
We definitely want to stay away from these oils, especially things that are fried with them.
Absolutely. And you want to stay away from those fried foods anyway, so it kind of works out that way.
So we're now in the kitchen. Take us to the kitchen. We're, for all of our food preppers out there, we're, thinking about things that you're cooking. Let's say that we're baking some chicken breast at 350 degrees. What are our options that are going to be safe at that point?
You can really use a lot of oils for that application. I do go for an olive oil. I like the subtle flavor it imparts. If you are going to be, roasting at a higher temperature, that's where I would pull out the avocado oil, because it's really able to withstand that high heat.
Great. So let's say we're doing, sheet pan, roasted vegetables, 425 degrees. You want to use avocado oil for that.
Exactly, yeah. And you're really going to get a nice crispy brown crust on those veggies and chicken when you use an oil with a higher smoke point.
So then another label that could get a bit confusing would be, organic, non-GMO. I do think it's important that, we always talk about non-GMO on our podcast episodes, how important that is. But thoughts on organic, do you think this is important to consider when purchasing your oils?
I do, yeah. At the end of the day, oils come from things like seeds and fruits and nuts. So it's really important that those foods are grown in a way that is going to be helpful for your body. So I think it's worth the extra couple bucks to go for the organic. And again, if you're using it in the right way, you'll get your money's worth.
And it makes sense. I think that's a good point. It's being sprayed just like any other, fruit. These different types of, fruits and vegetables would be as well.
Right.
And then cold pressed, and then we're heating them up. Yeah.
You can see how that gets out of hand real quick.
Totally. All right. So this is great. So then talk to me about coconut oil. When could we use that?
I love coconut oil, first of all.
And would you say unrefined versus refined?
I would definitely say unrefined. Right. You'll find that typically like solid at room temperature, but it melts down really easily. My favorite thing to do with that is like a curry dish. So you get that oil in the pan, start, your ginger and garlic and spices, and start building a beautiful base of flavor with that. I also think it's great for baking. We have someone in the office here that makes wonderful brownies with coconut oil, and they are absolutely to die for.
I love that. So let's say we're cooking away and the heat gets away from us. We suddenly see the smoke point has hit. Our oil is smoking. What do we do? So what do we do?
First thing, take that pan off the heat. You do not want to just shut it off and let it sit there. There's obviously still so much residual heat on the surface.
Right.
You know, at that point, you want to taste your food and see if it's worth consuming. You know, if it's smoking for a really long period of time, I wouldn't risk it.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you're standing in the kitchen and you glance over for a minute and you see that it's smoking, you're probably okay just as long as you tame it quickly.
Wonderful. So then last but not least, I mean, again, I'm so stuck in the nutritional world of all of this, of, you know, the health benefits, that I love speaking with you because you always talk about the creative and artistic side of cooking and using these oils. So take me through some ways that we could use some of these healthy oils in a really fun way to enhance the flavors of the meals.
Yeah. I love sesame oil. I think it's a great way to enhance a lot of like Asian inspired flavors. We'll use that for stir fries and things like that. Another underrated group of oils are the nut oils. Shout out to the nuts.
You were saying like walnut oils, hazelnut oils. I'm like, why do I never think to use this in a great salad? I think that's amazing.
Exactly. So these are oils you're going to want to use in a cold application. Think of a walnut oil vinaigrette over like a pear and arugula salad, or, you know, a hazelnut oil ice cream would be so delicious. So yeah, you can definitely get creative with these. Test some stuff out, but remember those smoke points for sure.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us so much of this culinary genius that you have within. If anyone is out there with questions on oils or applications, feel free to reach out to us. You can follow us at Physio Logic NYC on Instagram, and keep sending those questions to funkyouup@physiologicnyc.com. And for some bonus material, you can follow my Instagram at MichelleMiller_MSACN. We look forward to seeing you soon.
You've been listening to Funk You Up. Be sure to like, review, and subscribe for more daily tips on living well.